We were very proud to be Callaway people, even though we were grandchildren Callaway people. We swam in the pool, we went to the auditorium. We thought Mr. Callaway, and my parents thought Mr. Callaway was the greatest thing that ever happened to a city. And that's really what we need to see again. I think of how generous he was. His money, my grandfather worked for him for 55 years. His money sent my dad to law school. My dad's money sent me to an MBA at Georgia. And that's how it works. It hasn't worked that way in a while, but that's how it's going to work again when we make America great. I am the co-chairman for the Georgia Women for Troup. Now guys, listen to me, we love y'all. We love y'all. I got a 35-year-old husband who I love very much. But when Hillary points her her finger toward Georgia and says that she's come here to speak for us women, we have a list of thousands of names that say, not in Georgia, oh no you don't. So as soon as she does that, her attention comes to us, we're ready. And if you want to add your name to that list, I've got the list over here. So that's what the whole Georgia Women for Trump is. It's specifically because we anticipate Hillary, by hook or crook, will be their nominee. Now, I'm from Macon. I have a teeny business, and it's really more of a ministry than a business. My husband says he's an accounting major. He pays attention to the dollars. But I have a rollback truck, and I bought 55 16 by 8 by 8.5 foot containers, and I compete with pods. People will say to me, I saw your commercial the other morning, and they mean pods. And I said, you think that I have a commercial on ESPN the other morning. So I'm much teenier than that, but it gives you some flexibility, and so that's what I do. And I was riding in my rollback truck June 16th, and I don't have air conditioning, but I do have an AM radio. And I was listening to the AM radio and the wind noise, you know how hot it is in the South in June, and I thought I heard somebody say something about build a wall between Mexico and the United States. But I thought, I must be getting hot and dizzy because nobody would say that out loud. I mean, I've thought that. I mean, you've seen the negative financial impacts of unchecked illegal immigration. My daughter is at Georgia now, and she has a friend that's an education major. And she's doing her student teaching in Hancock County. And she thought she had all her bases covered because this young woman is bilingual. She can speak Spanish and English. She was telling us, I was up there Valentine's weekend, I had something, and she was saying that she loves student teaching, but there was one little boy that didn't seem to respond as they would talk to him in Spanish. And she said it took a week before they realized he was Turkish. And so Hancock County and the 4th grade is trying to find a teacher who is trilingual, or one of her languages is to speak Turkish, to teach this child one-on-one. I don't care how successful your county is, eventually we cannot afford a drain like that. You add that to our hospitals. When you have a bilingual person to translate for you, that doesn't improve hospital care. That doesn't get you a new cancer facility. That doesn't let you bring another surgeon. That takes up money that there is no impact positive on health. You're just redundancy in your expenses. Same thing in law enforcement. I'm sure if you have a sheriff here, if the sheriff is Republican, it's very difficult, the communication back and forth and trying to hire and keep people, doubling up a staff just to talk to folks that don't really have any reason to learn our language, because you can push 2 and pretty much the government says you have to be able, we have to accommodate you in all these new languages. So when I heard, after seeing that in my small area and thinking about how that worked out nationally, and I heard someone say, and I kind of thought they said businessman Donald Trump, but I knew that couldn't be right, but this wall, so I thought, well, if I did hear that at the hour news, that is so bombastically revolutionary, it'll get repeated. So I'm driving, I'm looking at my watch, driving, and I turned that AM radio all the way up at, 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock, whatever time it was, and sure enough, the storyline was, could you believe someone would be so insensitive to say blah, blah, blah? And at that moment, I had my presidential candidate. If he could see at his level he interacts in, what I can see with my local law enforcement, my local healthcare, my local education, that was all it took. I'm kind of like George Strait. He had me at the wall. I know now, 9 months later, there's a lot of conversation about other candidates about a wall or some sort of protection. I'm voting for the guy that took the arrows, that broke the glass, that said the unspeakable, that took the complaints, took the, oh no, I can't believe he's a clown, he's a this, he's a that. I want the guy that said it first, because it's going to be so difficult, in my humble opinion, to get the Republican Congress and the Republican Senate to do anything that our very conservative candidates want done, that you're just, there used to be a joke where guy went to play golf Saturday morning, and he came home, and his wife said, how was it? He said, it was terrible. It was terrible. She said, what happened? He said, Joe had a heart attack on the 3rd hole. She goes, what did you do? He goes, hit the ball, drag Joe. Hit the ball, drag Joe. I don't even know if we can drag the Republican Congress anymore. I'm hoping for some primaries out there that might shake things up and let Washington know we're watching, because Mr. Ryan's already said he has no plans at all this next year to limit immigration whatsoever. And I'm concerned about that. So whoever wins, regardless if they're saying they will do something about immigration, they're going to fight. We're going to be fighting our own. It's like sleeping with the enemy. So the guy who can do that, the meanest and the loudest, and not look back and not care what anybody thinks, and still have my vote. Now, it is interesting, as I've done some of these, the group is starting to change. Some of the folks that have already early voted or will be voting in Georgia and South Carolina, I'm on the phone with like 100 and 150 people a day. That's why I don't have a voice, I'm sorry. But I call different people, and from hearing them on the phone, I'm surprised. They go, yes, I'm voting for Mr. Trump. Yes, thank you for calling. It's a much wider group than we were talking about earlier about Romney. There's an expansion of the pie, which we have said we wanted all along. Everybody didn't have to look like us. We just wanted them to think like us. And that's actually what's happening in the GOP. I called a gentleman, and it was a landline. It went to his work, and he was checking people out at a magic market. And he said, oh, Mr. Trump. I said, oh, I'm sorry, I know you need to get back to work. He goes, no, please hold on. So I heard him check some people out. He picks up the phone. He goes, I registered to vote. I said, oh, that's great. Welcome to America. He goes, no, I've been here all life. I just didn't vote till now. It didn't matter. It didn't make any difference till Mr. Trump. And it's little things like that that make me realize we have a chance to broaden our conservative message, hopefully, in this election. Now, it is President's Week, where we think about and honor our presidents, but not this one. We tolerate this one. The load, the backpack we have had to carry and listen to and put up with and watch, including his revelation day that he can't go to a funeral because he has a golf game, it defies anything that any of our parents would have believed or our grandparents could have happened. They've got the thing out front of those kids, what I want to be when I grow up. If you look at them, they got great answers: Queen, veterinarian, fireman. Not one of them says, I want to be able to own a handgun. But if we don't get the Supreme Court judge right, that will be something that, just like putting Queen or, something that this generation won't have. There are a lot of things on the line. And, you always say you can't tell people it's really critical because, eventually it's like crying wolf. But I don't know. I think it's really critical, the next whoever steps into the mess that has been left to us by our current president. I will say this, though, in complete honesty. Don't turn the tape off. But I do not like every word that comes out of Mr. Trump's mouth. I think there are times, as my great-grandmother on the other side would say, honey, you get more bees with sugar. And I think there are times he could reel that in, and I think he probably should put his Twitter down in the middle of the night. But that is my opinion. I am a completely volunteer-only person. And I was trying to think about this, and I thought, I've written my congressman and my senator so many times, please don't sign the budget bill. And they do. Please don't sign TPP. Please don't give Obama any more power than he's already taken from executive action. And they do it anyway. Please work on border security. Please don't sign the Gang of Eight. Please, please don't bring that to the floor of the House. And had we not gotten rid of Eric Cantor, it would have been the floor of the House. It would probably be the law of the land, frighteningly. So I think I have to get ready to write letters. Please, please, please stop using mean language. I would much rather have to write a letter, please change your language, than please vote differently and don't vote against me when you have a big R on your sweatshirt. You think I'm not going anywhere because I'm a Christian conservative, and so you take me for granted and use and by influence all through Washington. I'm 58. We've seen enough of that to last me a lifetime. And to me, anybody that can possibly change up that Washington establishment, the bigger the change, the better to me. So I think that's really all I have to say. I do appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate the work y'all are doing, getting your candidates, getting them qualified, getting the funds so you can do things for the community and getting them. It's really important, and it's really easy to not come out on a weeknight. On a beautiful day like this, there's lots of things to do, including golf, and not drag your partner around. But it's really important, and I'm amazed when I meet people all across the state. You'd be amazed too. They remind you of you. They have the passion, the intellect, they're concerned, they're out on a weeknight. There are a lot of us out there. The silent majority is really together. You would like them and they would like you, and I hope we can all, when we get a candidate, whoever it is, we can all get behind them and we can take our country back. So I'll be glad to take any questions or any.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I'm Gerald Sweet.
Hey,
How do you address the fact that Donald Trump make America great? We're going to win everything so many times, yet Donald Trump has went through at least 4 bankruptcies. Trump Airlines is defunct. Trump Vodka is defunct. Trump University was a scam. He is not a conservative. He's not trustworthy, in my opinion.
Well, I could not, that's certainly no reason to try to talk you out of that, because we've been watching this act for what, since June. I mean, we're in February, we're almost a year. So we all have, our thoughts. Because I'm a complete business person, I can't fault, I can't fault somebody that ran their business and followed laws and took risks, and it didn't work out and had to regroup, because trying to take a political definition and put it back on a business person, I don't think is fair. Like when he said on some interview, people always say, what do you think? And we now know he doesn't mind telling you what he thinks and blowing off something, so-and-so should be impeached or so-and-so. I don't take what a private citizen who's running a business and hiring thousands of people and putting money in our economy, I don't try to put them into the box of a politician who has a record and has been cashing every check they cash is government, every trip they take is paid for by lobbyists, every gift they get in their office. To me, those are completely different ways of the world, and I'm sad for him that every business he started didn't work. But I have good friends that have thrown money at the wall and tried something and gave it their all and had to declare bankruptcy as well. Went through the bankruptcy court, got to Chapter 11. I don't look at them any different. That's kind of risk and reward. That's just how I personally look at it. But I certainly can appreciate your point of view. Yes, ma'am.
Would you give us like 3 outstanding character traits that you see in Donald Trump?
3 outstanding character traits that I see. And there again, I've really only watched him politically since June. I mean, I'm over here with my little $250,000 business with a $1,400 a month banknote, and he's over here with, I don't know, billions, millions. I mean, that's just too big for me. So I really didn't pay attention. I mean, I would have said successful would be the first character trait, but it would be from my watching him and just sort of seeing the success and the negatives and the positives outweighing the negatives. So my first would be successful. And the second would be outspoken. I mean, I have just watched him since June, and when you can make every possible news media establishment tell everybody that you're crazy and that it's a terrible idea and they can't believe you said it, and that even the people that agree with you are going to rise up and get rid of you and tell you you have to get out of the race. When you can make every media establishment mad except Breitbart, which I love. I don't know if y'all look at Breitbart.com. They are terrific. They got an app for your phone or iPad, including Fox. That's kind of my kind of outspoken. If this was business as usual and we were picking the best looking guy or the nicest talking guy or the guy with the silverest tongue, this is, in my humble opinion, this is warfare. And so I want the outspoken person who's out front taking the arrows, that's successful. And the third, it might surprise you, I'm going to say generous, and generous in time, because the last thing Donald Trump needs, I never met the man, from afar would say would be the President of the United States and not take any money for it, and give millions, billions to run for an office that he is at a level he can move his money to the Caymans. I'm stuck here. My husband's in a family business. My truck, I can't get it on the internet and go somewhere. I'm stuck. He's not stuck. He could be a citizen of any country in the world, any planet in the universe, and yet he has decided to spend some of what might be some of his only healthy time in this nonsense, in debates, and where you can't tell who's doing what and who's saying what. If you listen to debates, you would think the game of 8 was 8 nice men sitting around playing poker. Because in the debate, you never really talk about what's really happening in the background. The game of 8 was a terrible situation we almost had. So the fact that he's generous enough to stop doing what real rich people do and get into this fray, I guess that would be my 3: successful, outspoken, and generous, which I'm sure people would say, if he was generous, he'd have given all his money away. So there's a level, I guess more generous of time would be it. So. Yes, sir.
I'd like to say one thing. I just want to thank you for being passionate enough to come all the way from Macon, Georgia over here.
Yes, that's exactly right.